Again, we have an interesting case from ANTEC, and this time we're going to talk about NX320 case. This is a bit of a different case compared to the last time we talked about ANTEC products, and basically, even though we can place an ATX motherboard, we can't place an AIO on top. So that's the difference at the first look. But what we got inside is definitely completely different, since we're talking about two different cases, of course. First of all, let's start from this front panel, which really does look interesting. And you have half closed part and half of it is purely mesh, and the front comes with three 120mm addressable RGB fans, which you can adjust through the top button right here. So you could do all sorts of colors. You just need to connect the backside with SATA power and connect it directly to your power supply. Now, when we're talking about the interior, we have a magnetic dust filter at the top, which isn't the interior. But even though this is not the interior, here comes what I was supposed to say. You can place two 120 or two 140 fans at the top and one 120 at the back. So the only fans that you get inside this case are the front three 120, which is quite alright, and you can manage everything you wish on the back side. Now, there's loads of possibilities for your SSDs, because you have a possibility to mount two SSDs here on the side. And this is most likely the first case from quite a while that doesn't support fans on top of the power supply shroud. So it's something different, but believe me, you won't be disappointed when we get to the temperatures. Now, I placed here the only card I actually have is the GeForce RTX Supreme X 3070 from MSI, and you can squeeze a radiator inside when this card is here. And basically this card is so large that I had issues even placing it inside, because there are loads of these edges are quite for about centimeters sticking out, so you do need to tilt your graphic card and to place it in. There's also one thing: if you place a CPU tower cooler inside, there's slight less chance that you're going to place your GPU. So either you go with a shorter card that could go in without any problems, or you just go with an AIO on front, but then again you lose 2.5 centimeters on front for the GPU. So RTX 3070 Supreme X from MSI is around 335mm, and I would suggest not going with a longer card, because you'll have problem placing it inside. But that's not anything negative. Every case has limitations, so I'm just stating out the obvious. As you can see, I have a really high cooler here, and it's basically 160mm, the exact height that is supported from the case. 160mm of height from the CPU to the tempered glass, and it still leaves 2-3mm of space, so the tempered glass doesn't touch the CPU tower cooler. So if, for instance, and this is a good information for you guys that are always researching, if you're searching for a case that supports certain type of CPU tower cooler, and for instance your CPU tower cooler is 160 like this one I have right here, and the case supports up to 160, you can still fit it. So this is it, it fits, it's okay. Now the one thing that I have to say is the top part of the chassis at the back behind the motherboard, you don't have any opening to reroute the cables, so addressable RGB, PWM or stuff like that, and you need to reroute them on the far right side. As for the 8-pin, there's a small hole here at the back and you can barely push it. For instance, if you have two 8-pin or 8-pin and 4-pin EPS, you can only push one or barely squeeze it through, so that's a bit tricky right here. All in all, we have here loads of openings at the bottom, and you have clearance at the front of the power supply shroud if you decide to place a 240 or a 360 radiator. The cable management is quite straightforward. At the back we have another 2.5-inch SSD bracket, and at the bottom of the power supply shroud you have two 3.5-inch hard drive brackets. But the hard drive cage is actually modular, well, basically movable, so you can move it into different positions. So it all depends on your power supply and all depends on your front radiator support. Well, basically if you go with the radiator, you'll have to push it back to towards the power supply. In this case, since I used quite a large power supply, I removed it completely. These are the options that you could go with. Also, check out the back. This is all the cable management. So I have one 8-pin EPS, I have 24-pin, I have two PCI Express 8-pin cables, SATA, and all the extensions and the original cables from the power supply. And it's all well organized. You can easily manage everything without any problems. Talking about the top part of the I/O ports, you have the power on button, you have two indication lights, you have LED switch button, two USB 2.0, one USB 3.0, and two 3.5mm jacks. One is for your microphone and one is for your headset. So initial blow starts and you can see that the case is just brilliant. It will stop blowing when the initial boot goes, but here we go. So I placed a quite large CPU tower cooler here since, as I said, this is the only card I currently have and I couldn't place a radiator on front and decided to go like this. So here we go. We have quite interesting temperatures. I decided not to place any fans on top and I decided not to place any fans at the exhaust at the backs. All the airflow that is in this case doing anything are the front three 120mm fans. So I was actually quite surprised because the CPU went up to maximum 65 Celsius degrees, which is outstanding. So I'm using AMD Ryzen 5 5600G, and we have, as already stated a couple of times, MSI GeForce RTX 3070 Supreme X. It went up to maximum 68 Celsius degrees. The tests were done in AIDA 64 Extreme Edition and both of the components were at the same time at 100%. So this is quite outstanding. I would say quite nice looking case. It has limitations on top. Unfortunately, giving it an ATX support of the motherboard, they lost the top side with the AIO support. I'm quite satisfied with the case, with few minor changes that I would do, especially with the top part. Maybe raise it up just by 1 centimeter would be perfect, giving holes at the back, possibility to support 280, 240 radiator without problems. But I'm satisfied with the front design. It's just brilliant. Love the design, something different but still clean and elegant, and you could change the colors as you wish. For instance, quite easy, just press the button and do whatever you want. It's just like that. And okay, you have an opening for your power supply and that's it. So yeah, cool temperatures, cool design, really nice front design without a doubt, and the mesh is just outstanding. And I'll place the links below. For the NX320, you can check out the price, which is definitely appealing. And don't forget to subscribe, click the thumbs up button for the NX320. Finally, notification bell for future content. Thank you for watching. Hopefully, I will see you in another one. Bye bye.